In historic move, P2 Freemasons, the Black Sun worshippers, sue for peace. In what future historians will look back on as a huge watershed event, the P2 Freemasons, the worshippers of the Black Sun and creators of both fascism and communism, are suing for peace, White Dragon Society sources say. This, coming with the removal of the Rothschild family from control of central banks, means the world is about to enter uncharted historical waters. The P2 Freemasons are proposing that the world be led by a triumvirate of the sons of the Black Sun, the sons of Big Horus, and sons of the Dragon, according to the proposal conveyed by Vincenzo Mazzara, a cavalier of the Teutonic Knight and the most senior P2 member to contact the WDS. The Sons of the Black Sun refers to the P2 Freemasons who give orders to the Pope and the world's 1.5 million or so Catholics. The Sons of Big Horus refers to the eye at the top of the pyramid on the US $1 bill, presumably referring to non-P2 Freemasons such as the Scottish Rite and Rand Orrenton, who control much of the English and the French-speaking world. The Sons of the Dragon refers to Asian secret societies who control most of the East Asia. At this point, most readers are probably, and rightly so, appalled at the idea of three secret societies colluding in order to continue to rule in secret. The WDS, of course, wants everything to be open and with full public participation. Nonetheless, the P2 are powerful. They told us in advance they were going to fire Pope Maldict, Benedict XVI, and they did so. The P2 also bragged to the WDS that they were the ones responsible for staging the March 11, 2011 Fukushima tsunami and nuclear mass murder terror incident. Thus, the fact that they are now suing for peace means they know the dragnet is finally closing in on them. This move is also intimately related to the announcement that Nazi Fourth Reich Führer George H.W. Bush is dead. As Pentagon sources put it, while the G20 was prepping the world for a global currency reset. 41st President Bush Sr. expired on 11/30 because 11 plus 30 equal 41. In fact, Bush Sr. died in June, but the announcement was delayed until all the preparations were made to arrest senior Zionist Khazarian mafia underlings like Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama, the sources say. This is why US President Donald Trump retweeted this famous image on November 27th with the label, "Now that Russian collusion is a proven lie, when do the trials for treason begin?" The answer to that question, Pentagon sources say, is that mass arrest may occur after the Bush funeral, as GMO is overstaffed and Trump may initiate military tribunals before the new Congress is seated on January 3, 2019. The official announcement of the Bush Sr. death is important because, unlike other members of his group such as Hillary Clinton or Bush Jr., Bush Sr. had a lot of clout and respect at the top of the US military-industrial complex. With him gone, they have lost the last line of protection. Also, as far as a eulogy is concerned, since readers can find out for themselves about his involvement in things like the Kennedy assassination, I will only mention a few bits of original intelligence I have from my own sources about this man. The first, from MI6, is that when he went fishing in Maine in July 2007 with Russian President Vladimir Putin, Bush proposed they start a new Cold War, with Russia pretending to be China's ally. Using this Cold War as camouflage, the G7, Russia, and Japan would increase their military budgets until they all turned around to attack China and divide it into 6 countries. Certainly, until recently, there was the plot being followed with all the fake anti-Russian hysteria in the corporate media. Also, P2 Freemasons told me back in 2009 that Bush was the leader of the faction that wanted to kill 90% of humanity, the so-called useless eaters, enslave the rest and create a Nazi eco-paradise. X-File sources, meanwhile, tell me the Bush who died was actually clone number 34. As evidence, he provided a link to a video showing old man Bush joking while allegedly eating sushi and actually dying as his wife Barbara finished him off with a poisoned cloth. This was January 8, 1992. He was quickly replaced with a new clone already waiting in the back room. A fast switch of clones doubles. This was repaired in advance. This writer for years has asked contacts inside the Japanese public NHK broadcaster to get a copy of the original tape of this incident, but apparently it is kept under lock and key. As a final comment, when this writer approached Bush Sr. for an interview, I was told he was retired and did not do interviews, but that he knew about and supported what I was trying to do. In other words, he appears to have changed his mind about a genocide and agreed to the alternative plan of a huge campaign to fix the planet, followed by human expansion into the universe. This brings us back to the P2 Freemasons peace overtures mentioned above. P2 now say their proposed triumvirate will guide us into the new era with the new Yalta already in being. Yalta, you may recall, was the 1945 conference between Winston Churchill, Franklin Roosevelt, and Joseph Stalin that decided the shape of the post-war world. New Yalta, according to the P2, is an agreement to finance a multi-$100 trillion project to build a huge spaceship to ferry us to other planets as part of a project that has already been developed by NASA. Of course, U.S. Defense Intelligence Agency sources have previously told us NASA stands for not a space agency, so these claims need to be taken with extreme skepticism. The other thing the P2 had to say was that the world financial system has been able to create financial debt of $1.4 trillion against the world GDP of less than $100 trillion. This is a monster that no central bank algorithm can control. They know it well, both the FRB and the ECB, but also the Chinese. This is the result of the devastating financial war between Asia and the West, leading to continuous creation of new money in a way that is designed only to explode the financial system. As a peace offering, the P2 are offering this bond backed by 46,000 tons of gold. Despite this peace offering, the fact is that the P2 and their fellow secret societies have been extremely incompetent at ruling this planet and have presided over human misery, endless war, and the destruction of much of the natural world. That's why, instead of accepting their triumvirate, they need to keep fighting them until there is total, unconditional surrender. On that front, a major Khazarian cabal attempt to start World War III as prevented last week. There is no Nahukah miracle this year, after an Israeli false flag against the U.S. Navy that was to be blamed on Iran was stopped, say Pentagon sources. Presumably, this has something to do with the news that Vice Admiral Scott Sterney, who oversaw U.S. naval forces in the Middle East, was found dead Saturday in an apparent suicide. This incident, combined with the Mossad laser pointers targeting him last week, means that Trump may now be ready to declassify not just FISA but JFK and 9/11 files to terminate Israel and the Bush cabal, the sources say. Israel is up against the ropes because its Air Force, missiles, paper dome, and lobby are used as the UN General Assembly demands the return of Golan. They continue. Regime change is expected in both Israel and its client state Saudi Arabia, as patriots in both countries seek world help to remove Benjamin Netanyahu and his pet, so-called Mohammed bin Salman, they say. A sign of this was seen when Trump refused to meet MBS at the just-colluded G20 meeting. Also, the Israeli police have recommended indicting Netanyahu for multiple crimes, and his downfall is just a matter of time. Pentagon sources say the International Criminal Court is joining Argentine prosecutors as they look into war crimes charges against MBS, the EU, and the UN, and this may implicate Israel because they nuked Yemen. The other Khazarian mafia thug facing removal is French Rostra slave president Emmanuel Macron. Mass demonstrations to oust Macron continue to rage across France, with 84% of the public supporting the demonstrators. The Macron regime's thugs are using agents provocateurs to create violent incidents as an excuse to declare martial law. However, French protesters have posted videos that prove the violent protesters actually work for the police. When Macron declares martial law, the French military may side with the yellow vest, the protesters, to oust this Rojava puppet, the Pentagon sources say. French opposition sources, for their part, say that Macron has hired over 10,000 foreign mercenaries to protect himself, and that the French military are going to use the foreign incursion as a pretext to move against him. Another Rojava criminal puppet to be removed soon is Japanese Finance Minister Taro Aso. Japanese right-wing sources say Aso has infuriated right-wingers by promising to sell off all of Japan's water resources to benefit his son-in-law, Alessandro de Rojava. Aso's dad has already been ordered, and if he is not dead already, he will be soon. A right-wing source close to the imperial family said, "The arrest of Nissan president Carlos Ghosn is part of the campaign to remove French Rojava influence from that country," the sources say. Trump told Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe at the G20 that he favors a strong Japan in the rebalancing of the Nissan-Renault alliance. Pentagon sources say, since Japan's GDP is almost twice that of France and since Nissan's market capitalization is almost twice that of Renault, France will be forced to sell or reduce its stake, they add. Finally, there is also some sort of esoteric California-style battle involving directed energy weapons taking place in Australia. Australian intelligence sent the following pictures of what appears to be a massive DEW attack that is starting fires in Queensland. Things are definitely heating up, and we can expect a lot more as the battle to free humanity rages towards victory and freedom from Babylonian debt slavery and towards a golden new age.